Hey guys, Kobani here with part 2 of the first video on modeling basics in Maya. Today I'll be going to Zbrush with the model and we'll be working on some textures in Zbrush. So I'm going to start by opening the project and then doing some edits in Maya before I go to Zbrush. So I'm going to start by setting the project and then I open the project that we're working on. If I go to Zbrush, I'm going to edit this hammer so that I can do the stuff I want to do in Zbrush. And you might not understand some of the stuff I do, but you understand when I go to Zbrush. Oh, and it seems this is the wrong one. I already did like a pre-test to make sure everything like runs correctly before I do the recording. So since there's the wrong one, there's the one I already edited. So let's hope we still have the old one. Okay, there we go. We still have the old one. So I'm going to start by deleting the bevels we did on the hammer itself. The reason I did the bevels was for people who don't have ZBrush and want the hammer to look good before, like, just so that they can they can show it to somebody or something, or if like you want to learn how to bevel or stuff. The first video was just basics of mine, and now we're going to ZBrush. So, and this hammer doesn't have the hole here, but what I do would just do it to the hole too, and you see it. So basically I'm just going to delete all the bevels and choose carefully, because some edges are the one are holding the shape and the one is just a bevel edge. You can hide half of the faces. I'm going to actually do that, so that we just delete one side of the edges and then we just mirror to the other side. So basically, face mode, delete. So now when I delete the edges here and I mirror it to the other side, it will already be set. So I'm going to select this ring, right here. Actually, I'm going to control and double click on this one and select this one instead. So shift, right click, double click. I'm going to shift, double click on this one since we don't need it anymore. I'm going to select, make sure you select the same edges on the top and the bottom, or unless you can also delete the faces at the bottom and then do it all one side, mirror to this side and mirror to the other side. But I don't want to do that right now, so I'll just gauge it. And since I did the top one on this side, if I had to flip the hammer, this will be the edge. So we got that, and then I'll get this one right here, and I'll get this one right here, and this one right here, this one right here. Let's see, we got a one on the top. So yes, that's it. Before I delete the edge, I have to deselect one of the edges over here. So I'm just choosing which one. I choose this one. So I'm just going to press Control and just click this one, and Control and click this one. Just think about how it will look if you flip the head to the other side. So now that I got the edges I need selected, shift, right click, delete edge. And some edges are not going to delete, like this one right here, because Maya sees it as is holding something very important. So we can leave this edge right here because it gives us that shape we have here. Because if I delete this edge, we get this, and we get like this point over here. And it doesn't matter if you want it like that. If you want the point there, you can have it. Actually, I'll use the point over there. So I'll just click this one and delete edge. If you want a squarish side to your hammer like this, then you keep the edge there. But if you want the point there, we'll remove it. Because when you go to ZBrush, you can like sculpt over there and make it look damaged and stuff. So basically, I'll just do that. Object mode, click, go to my front view, vertex mode, scale it in so that to make sure it's flat. Go back to object mode, shift, right click, mirror polygon and X minus, and then boom, we got it. To remove these black shadows over here is just because our edges are not hardened and they are softened. That's why everything looks like that. So just click on shift right click, soften harden edges, and then click, pull your mouse to harden edge, and boom, all the edges are hardened. Make sure usually exporting as OBJ will harden your edges automatically, so but just to be safe, I do it before I export it. So I'm just going to double click the middle edge, shift right click, and delete the edge. I'm going to do the same for all the bevels that we did on the other side, on the other objects, like these ones right here. And just choose wisely the edges that you delete. If the bevel has two edges holding it like this, it's easier to know which ones to delete. You just delete the edges that surround the middle edge. And I'm going to delete the ones on the rings too, because we'll be doing something in ZBrush that would change stuff up. The one on the rings are not that important, but I'll still be doing them. So I'm just going to speed the video from here and see you guys when it comes back. Okay, I'm done deleting the edges. I'm not going to do it for all the rings yet, because for the rings I'm going to basically work on one ring in ZBrush, and then I'll duplicate them to where the other rings are, and then delete the other rings basically. Yeah, it just makes my life easier. So after I do what I'll do in ZBrush on one ring, I'll just duplicate that ring to the other rings. And when I was working, I messed up one ring over here, which I fixed. It was just a mini edge. I had to multi-cut and fix it by down here, but I don't think it matters to you guys. So I'm just going to harden the edges on these ones right here. Press J to repeat last command, J to repeat last command, and then that. And as you can see, these rings are different from the other ones because I didn't delete their bevels here. I could delete their bevels right now, but as I said, it's too much work. So I'm going to press on the cylinder or the handle, press Alt H, and then I'm going to double click on this edge right here, which happened because of the bevel. Shift right click and delete, and then I'm going to select this ring right here, shift right click, bridge. I'm just going to do it for the other holes. I can just press G to repeat last command. So okay, now I'm going to select the rings that are in the middle because we don't need them. Now I'm going to select this ring up here and deselect the face here and here. The edge here. Shift right click, bridge to create this quad over here. The reason I'm doing this right now is because ZBrush can't read black normals like Maya does. Like it has backface. I think it's backface normals or something, which means basically you'll see through the object if there's no cap on it. I'll show you what it means in ZBrush. So I'm just going to select this edge ring and then bridge. Yeah, I'm going to press Shift, Control, and H to bring everything back, and I'm going to export this. I'm not going to be exporting mine because I already did an export. I already exported one already, and that one already has. I already did it, but I'm going to export this one just to show you guys. So let's click, drag, select everything, delete history, center the pivots, and freeze the transformation. As I said in the previous video, I have one button that does it all. Before we go to ZBrush, before we export our stuff, we have to do this. Go to your outliner, which can be found in Windows outliner. I have it right here, so I just click on it. Put the stuff, each object, in a different group. I do that because it makes it easier to split them when you go to ZBrush. Sometimes if you can choose not to do it, but sometimes ZBrush won't be splitting your stuff properly. So, but when you group it, ZBrush splits your stuff well, or that's my experience with it. So I just name my objects like hammerhead and stuff, but then after I name them, I press Command G while it's still selected, and it puts it in a group. So I just do everything, and I put all the rings in one group. Hopefully it splits them into one group. Sometimes it doesn't split them into one group and puts each of them as a subtool, but I can just merge them if I need to. So just put the main parts into their own groups, and then we export. Now I'm going to do the delete history, center the pivot, and freeze transformation. Then you export as an OBJ. So you press File, make sure everything is selected, File, Export Selection, and look for OBJ down here, and then name it whatever you want. I name mine Blockout because I'll be doing two more, which is called, I'll make one low res and one high res, and I'll do a normal bake. And these are the settings I use. I have groups on, and then I have everything else off. If you like, you can have groups off, but I just turn groups on just to help ZBrush out with the splitting. If you can't find OBJ on your objects, as your export option, go to Windows, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager, and look for OBJ Export Bundle, which is right here, and then you choose Loaded and Auto Load. I think these things are alphabetical, so it's easier to find them. Yeah, they're alphabetical, so just look for OBJ Export Bundle, and you should do that. And just close after you're done, and then you should see OBJ as part of your options. So I'll be moving on to ZBrush now. See you guys there. Okay, so welcome to ZBrush. This is not a ZBrush tutorial, or like, this is not a beginner ZBrush tutorial, so I'd assume you know some things about ZBrush, because I don't know, say I'm professional in ZBrush yet. I'm still learning some stuff, but I know how to do some stuff in ZBrush, I guess. I prefer to use a drawing tablet, a Wacom tablet to be specific, while in ZBrush. But for the first part of this, I'll be using my mouse, because I'm faster with the mouse when it comes to the clicky stuff. But when it comes to the drawing and sculpting part, I use the ZBrush. My Wacom tablet. So if you're new to ZBrush, this is not how your UI actually looks. This is my custom UI. If I use something, I'll be using the stuff from how it will look on yours. So don't worry about my custom UI. I'll make sure to go to the buttons where they actually are on ZBrush and not use my shortcuts. So let's begin. I'm going to press my comma button on my keyboard to remove the light box, which opens every time you open ZBrush. And I'm going to click import and import your OBJ that you did in Maya. Click and drag. I press and hold shift so that it drags it nicely, if it works. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but I don't care. If you mistakenly drag too many stuff in your scene, just press Command or Control N. On a MacBook it's Command N, on a Windows computer it's Command N. It's Control N. So I'm just going to bring it in there again. Oh, now shift worked. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to press T to enter edit mode, and now we can actually sculpt on the object. Like right now I'm sculpting, but there's not enough geometry to actually sculpt properly, so that's not good, but we're going to do some stuff to change that. Also, you might hear my fan going off because I'm using a laptop right now, so the fan starts going off when I start ZBrush, but it can handle it. Another thing is also our topology is very bad, because if you saw it in Maya, it's not actually a good topology for modeling. So if I press the poly F, which is basically a wireframe mode, If I press it, you see I still have the topology from Maya. Like this right here is very bad for modeling and stuff, but we're going to fix all that right now. And you see why I deleted the edges, the bevels in Maya. I mean, usually people bevel in Maya and stuff, so I wanted to bring to ZBrush, and they subdivide by going to geometry and clicking the divide button. It keeps the hard edges, but because I deleted my bevels, when I subdivide I lose those hard edges. So I'm just going to bring it back to the first one, but I Z back, instead of using command Z I use the bar up here. It's the same thing basically, but I prefer to use the bar here because I don't know, it depends on how many undos I have to do. So I'm going to start by splitting these into their own subtools. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure I'm in poly mode so I can see my poly groups and their colors, and I'm going to click and drag down here to poly groups, and I'm going to click auto groups. Because I group my stuff in ZBrush, I mean in Maya, usually auto group will find grouping easier. It depends on the assets. Some assets auto group separately, some differently, and you have to manually group it or something, but luckily over here auto groups worked. And as you can see, there are different colors, means everything they are in different poly groups. So I'm going to run something in, I'm going to go to subtool, and I'm going to go to under split, and you can split into parts and split on X, and these are for when you mark your stuff. But right now what I will be doing is splits and group splits, because we already have them in groups. Only problem with using group split right now is that our rings will be in their own groups, but you can pull all of them in the same group by, if you press shift control, press and hold shift control. But if I do that, I'm going to zoom in a little. Okay, shift control, and you click on a poly group. It isolates that poly group, and I press shift control and I drag outside to invert the isolation, and I just click on the rings and hide all of them. After I hide all of them, I just click and drag outside to invert, and I press Control W, and it puts all of the visible stuff into a group. So when I press shift control and I just click outside, not drag, just click, it reveals everything again, and you see that they are all in their own groups now. All the rings are in one group now. Right now the rings have a similar color to the butt of the hammer handle. To make sure that they are in a different group, because I can see the colors are similar and maybe they are in one group, I'm going to check by pressing shift control and then isolate this group. The fact that the rings vanished means that they are not in the same group as this right now, so I'm just going to shift control and then click outside. Now when I click on the rings, all of them are in the same group, so they are all showing, so which is good. That's what we want. And now I click group split, and it will tell you this is an undoable operation, so make sure you have everything clean before you do this. Then just boom, and now the rings are in one group, the hammer is in one group, the head is in one group, and the handle is in one group, and the butt is in one group. Make sure you select your subtools before you work on them. Shortcut to switching subtools is by pressing Alt and then clicking on the subtool. It will automatically switch to it. So that's some tips real quick. Now let's get to the important part. I'm going to switch to the hammerhead and click on the eye by it in the subtool menu, and it will hide everything except the hammerhead. I'm going to just rotate stuff right around a little bit. For what I'm about to do, I need to see the bottom of the hammer, because we're about to fix the topology without actually doing a retopologize and stuff. So I'm going to go down to poly groups and then group by normals. The default group by normals is 45. When I have over this, you can see the number 45 there. I'm going to try using the default numbers first before I switch the numbers around. So I press group by normals, and then let's see what happens. Okay, it switched this to pink, it changed this to a bluish color, and this is all yellow. For what I'm about to do, I've tested it already and this doesn't work. I need more faces to be grouped differently. It also changed these right here to a different group, which is almost where we want it to be. Basically, I wanted to group my stuff and keep all hard edges, so it will group a face until it meets a hard edge, and then it will change the groups. That's what I want ZBrush to do. So I'm going to change this number to 30. It is different depending on the asset you're working on. It's one reason we need hard edges and not beveled edges. Now when I click group by normals, now we get more groups, and as you can see, all the edges that have hard edge around them are grouped into a different group. And I presume this one is not the same group as this. So just to double check, I'm going to press Shift Control and click on this. It's the brush size. The brush size is too big, so it selects more than I need, more faces than I need. So just try again. Oops. Oh, is symmetry on? No, it's not. Something is making my mouse not move where it's supposed to go to. Like the dot is not where the brush is. But it doesn't matter right now. I can see they are in different groups, so I'm not going to bother with that right now. I think actually I know why. I have to update my drivers, and I haven't done that yet. I'll do that. Yeah. So now that we got them in different groups that we need, we are going to go to geometry. Also, to open multiple tabs, you press Shift before you click another tab, so that it keeps the old tab open. That's if you know you're going to work in multiple tabs. But sometimes I like only one tab to open because I'm working in it on. So after we open geometry, we go down to Z remesher, turn on keep groups over here, and with the smooth groups, turn it to 0. Default is 1. Just drag it to 0. I'm going to keep the rest of the stuff at default, like 5 target polygon count, and then adapt, and I'm going to keep the adaptive size at 50. And I click Z remesher, and now it fixes our topology, but because of the grouping that we did, it kept everything nice and clean. If I didn't do the groups and stuff, it would have changed my look, the look of my stuff drastically, and it would have looked bad. If I turn off the wireframe, I mean, you can see we still have the same thing. We still have the same look, but it keeps the geometry like sculptable now. And now if I subdivide, it still makes it look like it's beveled, even though it's not beveled. I'm going to change the material because I don't like the red material. To change materials, you click over here, and this is the material I'm using, Matcap Gray. I have it over here, so I can easily switch to it since I use it a lot. I'm going to go back down to the first subdivision and delete higher, because I'll be doing the low poly in this video. And now that we got this, we got a clean topology here. Like we got clean mesh plus good topology without having to do it ourselves. This is a trick I learned from another YouTuber a while back, and then it really helped change my work progress from Maya to ZBrush. So we are going to do that for the other assets, and then we'll see. So right now the next one is the handle, so I'm just going to click on the handle, and for the handle something will be different, and I'll show you guys what it will be. We are going to do the same thing for the handle, and then I'll show you what changes with the handle. When I click when I go back to polygroups, you'll see that everything has gone back to the defaults. Even though I changed the numbers for the hammerhead, everything changes. Every time you search a subtool, most of your tools will go back to their default settings. So when I click group by normals, this one will work because we don't have a lot of edges on this one. We have right here just this and then this. The reason I close the caps is because of this. If I isolate this group right here, whoops, But my mouse is really bugging out. It's not selecting stuff the way it's supposed to. You can see the mouse is here, but then the dot is down there. I might have turned something on by mistake, so I'll have to look into that later. The mouse is not selecting stuff properly. Wow. But basically, if I isolate this right now, you see a hole over here, and that happens in ZBrush because there's nothing covering there, and ZBrush can read places with normals facing the opposite direction. So right now the normals are facing this way. That's how we can see the path with the normals, and you can, if there's no geometry inside, ZBrush can see it. Basically, it's called backface normals or something like that. So I'm just going to skim over that because that's not important right now. Now that I've got poly groups, I'm going to turn on the wireframe to see everything. Now when I go to Z remesher, this is also not a good geometry to model on. Let's say I go to geometry and I divide it. This is how ZBrush should divide it right now. And if I were to sculpt from this, it will look awful and stuff. So just going to Z back. So in order to make a good model to sculpt on, you can either Dynamesh or do this again. Click on keep groups, turn smooth groups all the way to 0. I'm going to use the default again. You can change the numbers if your asset is not looking similar to what it looked like after you zero mesh. So just going to use the defaults. If it works, I'll keep it. So as you can see, the defaults actually made it. It's still the same. Oops. Oh, I'm going to do it again. Okay, now my mouse is working properly. Okay, as you can see, when I isolate that group, we can't see anything when we go this way. That's because there's no geometry there for ZBrush to look at. But when I bring everything back, then oops, and you can see I'm going to turn off the poly frame because that's annoying for you guys. But I'm going to turn it back on again because as you can see, even though we did the remesh, we still have hard edges at the side of the cylinder, and that's not good. If we divide it, the hard edges will still be there. So in order to fix that, I'm going to remove the subdivisions, and I'm going to shift control and then isolate this again. Go all the way down to deformation, shift click on deformation so we keep everything, and then use this tab right here, polish by groups. I'm going to drag it all the way, and then boom, it smooths it for you. It basically smooths your edge flow for you. And now when we divide it, it should look clean. I'm going to go back to our first one, and so basically we got everything clean now. You can do it for the other two groups. Basically just shift control click on that one and isolate it, and then use the deformation tab, which I closed, and polish by groups. Actually, if I go back, let me show you how it happens to the topology. Look at how the topology looks now. And when I click and drag polish by groups to 100 and I leave it, you see a little shift, like it cleans the edge flow a little. You can keep on doing it until you feel comfortable with it, but it will just be doing small changes. So I don't overdo it because we'll be sculpting on it later. So just going to bring everything back, and then next asset we'll be working on, subtool we'll be working on is the hammer, the back of it. The same as it's hidden. Oh no, I know what's causing it. Yeah, press F to frame your subtool in the scene. This one is working differently because of the pivots change. So you just click it on a side so that your pivot changes to that part, and then you can rotate it and stuff. I'm going to turn on polyframes again. Shift right click to polygroups, and I'm going to cut this part out of the video. I'm going to be doing the same thing again, so basically you guys should know what to do by now. I'm going to isolate these groups right here because it seems like there's some problems with it. Many problems, like I see when I change the light. Actually, before I do that, let's check if it divides properly. So I'm just going to subdivide it. Okay, I'm going to turn off the polygons. Yeah, the problem is still there. So I'm going to bring it back down and delete higher. Oh wait, and delete higher. Okay. I'm going to do one more group and smooth by poly groups. Just right here in the deformation. So polish by groups, not smooth. So just going to drag it to 100, and it just did something minor. It doesn't matter that much, I guess, because that part is not even going to be smooth either way, because we'll be doing some damages on it. So I'm just going to turn everything back on in the subtool menu. I'm going to frame everything. Now we got, I want to change to poly mode. We keep as close to points, but we still have sculptable geometry now. So when I change my groups, you can see the difference from the base one that we did. And now we work on the rings. For the rings, if you deleted each bevel manually, you can like just stop right here. You can do it for all of them, but you can also do this basically. So I'm just going to switch the rings. For the rings, it doesn't matter that much sense if you actually divide them. They are divided properly, but also their sculpting on them will be weird because there's not enough geometry to sculpt on. You don't have to do it for the rings, but I'm going to be doing some damages on the rings, and I need a sculptable geometry on it basically. So I can either like do it for each ring one by one, or I'm going to duplicate this subtool by going to duplicate right here, so I can keep the old one, so that in case I do changes and I don't like it, I can always come back to the old one. The old ones will be hidden because we have everything else hidden. So I'm going to basically zoom out a little so I can see everything. Shift, Control, and drag from here all the way down here. And I'm going to, what it does is that it hides everything else and only makes that visible. So I'm just going to press Shift, Control, and click and drag outside to invert what is hidden. Right now those ones are hidden. Let me hide everything else so that you can see what's hidden. So basically when I press Shift and Control and I drag, I hit everything, namely that ring, and I press Shift, Control, and drag outside, and I reveal that ring and hit everything else. And I'm going to click Delete Hidden, which should be here. I'm used to using it as my shortcut, so it might take me some time to find where exactly it is. Should be under, yeah, it's under Modify Topology and Delete Hidden. What it does is that it deletes the stuff that we hid basically. So now when I press Shift and I drag outside, nothing gets revealed because basically everything is hidden. Don't use the one here like delete other or whatever, because that's for subtools. The Modify Topology works only on the subtool we have selected right now. So I'm just going to zoom in, frame it basically. I'm going to go to the poly groups and do the same thing again. The zero measure method. Okay, now that we are done, as you can see for the rings, because we have no geometry on the inside, there's nothing there. When I dynamic it will fill the hole basically. Actually, I tried done that in Maya, but it's not a big deal for me, because when I'm doing a UV map for this, I'll make the UV map. I'll make the rings part of the handle, in the UV map. So I'm just going to reveal everything again. I'm going to hide this subtool right here. I'm going to turn off this, and basically we got everything retopologized and ready for modeling. It's just a quick retopology. I don't advise you guys to use it for every asset, but it's just good for one asset. Oh, before we leave, because I'll be speed modeling on it. Before we leave, I'm going to duplicate the ring now. Basically, I can just either I can duplicate right here. I duplicate the sub tool. Go to my move tool. Shift, drag, then use the middle one. And press and hold shift so I move it down. And because I can review with this sub tool here, so I know exactly where to place it. So I'll place it like right here, and then just press duplicate again and move it down to where it's supposed to be. Press and hold shift so I can move it exactly where it is. And then I'm going to merge down. So click on this and then merge down. Yeah. Okay, merge down. I'm going to click on always and skip this note until next restart. So just going to keep on merging down until I get to the last ring. And then basically now I got all the rings on the same group, in the same group I mean, and I can edit all of them by basically I do this sub tool split so I can like isolate this and then work only on the rings without worrying about the other stuff. And then basically yeah, that's it. Now I can model on this and then be done. I'm going to delete this one this sub tool right here because I don't need it. And now I get everything split up and ready for modeling. For the modeling part of the hammer, I'm going to do a time lapse modeling because I don't think you guys want to see like me slowly go in and model this hammer. So I'm just going to like do a speed model and then use a time lapse video and use the final product as a thumbnail for the video series basically. So this is like my first 2 steps that I would have done. And before I do this, I'm going to save us over here, save the tool. So thanks for watching, and until next time guys, see you later.